Hello everyone, welcome to Voxcel. I hope you are doing fine. In this video, we're gonna discuss section 3 of test 1. We have already discussed section 1 and section 2 of this particular test, and it is taken from General Training Book 20th. So, without further ado, let's start. So if you have seen my previous videos, you know how we start our passage by reading the title of the passage. But here, as you can see, we don't have any title of the passage. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go straight to the questions and see what kind of questions we are what kind of questions we are dealing with. So if you look here, we have total number of questions 28 to 40. Clear? So let's see. The right hand side on you will see the questions. So from questions 28 to 32. So these questions are paragraph contains information or paragraph mentions information. So what you have to do is in front of every question or every like here statement, you have to write the correct paragraph letter from A to G. So if you look closely, there are 7 paragraphs from A to G, but how many questions are there? Yes, 5. So that means 2 paragraphs we will not have any answers in them. And other thing, there is no NB here. That is usually the case where it is written you may use any letter more than once. So that just means every letter will be used only once. There no letter will be repeated. Clear? And from 33 to 36, let me change the color. We have MCQs. So out of these 4 options, we have to pick the correct one. And from 37 to 39, you have to complete the summary. That just means fill in the blanks. And the important thing is you have to pick one word only. You cannot write more than one word. And for question 40th, again you have MCQs. So you have to pick one option out of these 4. Clear? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read the A paragraph, then we will try to find if A is answer of any of these questions, and then we'll see if it is answer 33rd or 34th. So let's see 33rd, 34th, or if the answers of this is in this. So now there are like a lot of things you can do. First you can do is either you can read all these questions, try to understand the new nuances, small differences between these options, and then start reading the A paragraph, so that if you find any information you have read here, it will automatically click and you will be able to find the answer. Similarly, you can read the A paragraph, then you can read the all these type of questions. Clear? So what we're going to do is we're going to read the I will just try to explain these questions to you just for this particular bit, but in reality, or when you are doing yourself, you will not have to do this, because you can, while after reading this paragraph, you will be able to understand all these questions easily. So 28th, and second thing, after reading this paragraph, to for every set of questions I will give you around 10 seconds to tell me whether there is any answer in them in that paragraph or not. 28th, how unusual it is for archaeologists and children to have equal responsibilities. Now, what does this word unusual mean? Yes, unusual means something that doesn't happen too often, too frequently, something that is rare. Okay, uh, something like that. Okay, I hope it is clear. Like for example, if you say I usually eat pizza, so that means it is happening, this particular activity is happening quite regularly. Okay, but if you say uh, I don't usually eat pizza, mean to say I don't usually or often do this, so it's an unusual activity or a thing for me. So now what is unusual? How unusual it is for archaeologists and children to have equal responsibilities. So meaning to say, in other words, archaeologists and children normally do not get equal responsibilities. Obviously children will be getting fewer responsibilities. Archaeologists will share lion's share of their responsibilities. So if they're getting equal responsibility, that's an unusual thing. 29th, the relevance of children's achievements to a country's educational requirements. So you have to talk about the relevance of the achievement of children to a country's particular country. So instead of a country, you may be given some name of a country, okay, and about talking about its educational requirements. 30th, location of archaeologist's main project. So you will be given a location of a main project of the archaeologist. Maybe there are more than one projects like in simultaneously going on, but out of those two, three, four, five, how many projects there are, one will be the main project, and you will be given the location of that particular project. You will not be only told about the main project, you will also be told about the location of that particular project. Be careful about that. 31, a place where a large amount of archaeological material was found. So again, you will have to find the name of the place. Again, here instead of location, you may be given name of a particular place where you will find a large amount of archaeological material. Clear? So be careful about the difference between these two questions. Here they are talking about the place or location of the main project. Here they are talking about a location or a place where you find some kind of evidence material. 32, a relative's connection to a local business. So you will be given some kind of your relative like uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandmother, something like that, and his or her connection to any local business, maybe local dairy, local jewelry shop, local stationery shop, something like that, maybe any type of business, and someone's relative will be like part of that particular business, so you will be given something like that. I hope all these questions are clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the A paragraph, and then I will give you obviously around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, if there is any answer or not. And then I'll explain if there is any answer, why that is the answer. If there is no answer, why. Clear? In any case, I will explain this. So if you need more time, like let's just say you think 10 seconds are like too less of a time for you and you need more time than that, you can pause the video, and when you're ready with your answer, you can continue. A option. A group of excited children are instructing community archaeologist Colin Shepherd when to drop a china mug on the floor so that they can see how it breaks on impact. Now we're talking about a group of excited children. So what they are doing is they are saying to this particular person, Colin Shepherd, to drop a china mug on the floor. So a china mug is a kind of you can say cup that breaks when it hits the floor. So obviously here it is written, so they can see how it breaks on the impact. They will use the results of this experiment to better understand. So why they are breaking this particular cup? To better understand an archaeological find. So maybe they have found something of archaeological importance, the broken pieces of an old marmalade jar. So they have found an old marmalade jar's broken pieces, and they want to see how it must have broken. Last used for breakfast around 100 years ago. The children had recently excavated the jar from woodland as part of an archaeological investigation. So the children themselves. So what does excavate means? To dig up. So children themselves dug up this particular jar from this particular place called woodland as a part of that investigation. I hope I made it clear. So now you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer to this particular question, whether we have any answer in question number 28 to 32, and time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's read the questions together. How unusual for archaeologists and children to have equal is there anything about that is like having equal responsibilities is not usually the case? No, there is no talking about responsibilities or any such kind of word. 29th, is there any mention of education here or children's achievement? Yes, they have found something, but it is not linked to any educational requirement. So 29th cannot be our answer. 30th, location of any main project. Is there anything like that? No. 31, a place where a large amount of archaeological material was found. Is there any mention of that? We found a yes, they found an old marmalade jar and in woodland. So this is the name, obviously a part of this particular project, but it is not a large amount. So there is nothing like there was some a lot of something. Okay. Relatives connection to a local, there is no mention of relative either. So a, we don't have any answer from 28 to 32 here. Let's see the MCQs in the experiment described in paragraph A. Okay, so for the 33rd question, we will have our answer for sure in paragraph A, because it is given in the question. Now we will read the question, then the options, then I will give you 10 seconds to tell me which option is correct. The experiment described in paragraph A is designed to show. So why the experiment? The experiment they did, why they did that? Why objects break up when they are left in woodland? So is the experiment's main object is to show why something breaks up when they are left in woodland? If that is the case, A will be our answer. B, how modern objects differ from those made in the past. Something about the past, comparison between past and present. See what happens to a breakable object when it hits the ground. So it shows, the experiment is conducted to show what happens when a breakable object it hits the ground. So what happens? Obviously it would break. D, how long it takes to put a broken object back together again. So it will, if the paragraph talks about the time it takes to put back a broken object back together, like with the help of a glue or something, other adhesive, type of adhesive. So how long it will take to join those pieces again? If that is the case, D will be our answer. Now you will have around sorry about that. So you will have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer to question 33, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's mark the answer first. The answer to this particular question is option C. What happens to a breakable object when when it hits the ground? So first let me mark the answer along with the location. Then I will explain why it is the answer if you are not able to understand, and why other options are incorrect. So let's see. A option, why objects break up when there is nothing, no mention of this. So here they are saying that a group of children, they are instructing Colin Shaffer to drop a china mug, sorry, so that they can see how it breaks on impact. So they want to see how it breaks. So what happens to a breakable object when it hits the ground? So what happens? It breaks, and they want to see it how it breaks. So there is no comparison between different obviously objects either, and there is no mention of time. So our answer is logically C. Let's see 34th in paragraph B. Okay, so we know in paragraph B we will find the answer to question number 34. And before that, let's see one word only, the children's exhibition. Okay, so in whatever paragraph there is mention of exhibition or children's exhibition, only then we will read these answer, or we should read these questions. Otherwise it's just a wastage of time, because we know from the paragraphs heading or the questions heading itself it should be something about exhibition. So the answer will rotate around exhibition. So there is no mention of exhibition here, so there is no need to read this. And question 40th, what would be suitable title? Okay, now if we are talking about the suitable title, so we do not have to revisit this question again and again. Why? Because we will be able to correctly answer this particular question after reading all these 7 paragraphs. So we will be able to understand everything. So that's why after reading the entire passage we will come to this particular question. These questions, when we will find any exhibition information regarding children's exhibition, and obviously this is in paragraph B, but these questions we have to do simultaneously for every paragraph. So B paragraph, when school children are invited, let me change the color. So when school children are invited to visit archaeological excavations, they rarely have much specific knowledge about the site's history. So now we are inviting school children for excavation, and we know it's very rare. So it's like there are very slim chances they will have specific knowledge about a site's history. So let's just say they are being called upon like at particular site called A, so they will have the knowledge of that particular site A. The chances are next to none. They are normally given straightforward tasks, so like washing and sorting fine. So what they are given, they are normally, so normally means usually, so usually they are given very straightforward task like washing and sorting fine. So the task they are given, they are quite straightforward, in other words easy, you can say. That is any discoveries that are of archaeological interest. What is less common, so is to find primary school pupils working as partners with an archaeologist. So normally they are doing this. So what is less common means what is rare. So rare thing is that you find primary school children working as partners with archaeology. So this thing is not that common, it is less common. Our project lets primary school children take a joint role in an archaeological investigation, working actively alongside an expert in the field. So their particular project, this project they are talking about, it lets primary school children, so the children they are who are studying in primary school, they can take a joint role in any investigation, and they can work actively alongside an expert. So they can work along with an expert. They do not have to sit back in the tent or whatever place they are told to sit at. So they can work in the field along with an expert. I hope it is clear. So now you have around 10 seconds and the time starts now for questions 28 to 32. Okay, time's up. So let's read the questions together. How unusual is it for archaeologists and children to have equal responsibilities? Is there any mention about that this is not a usual thing that they have equal responsibilities? Yes, this is our answer B. Where it is written? Here, let me mark this location and then I will explain. So here it is written what is less common. So less common basically means unusual, equal responsibilities, working as partners. So they have equal responsibilities. If somebody is partner, if you're partner or if somebody is your partner, so you will have responsibilities, equal responsibilities. They may vary. For example, you will have A department to look at after, and that person may have B department to look after, but the responsibilities will be equal. I hope it is clear. So let's see if somebody has marked any other question why that is not our answer. 29th cannot be our answer because there is no mention of educational requirements and children's achievement. 30th, there is no mention of any main project or the location of that particular thing. There is no mention of finding of a lot of evidence, and there is no mention of relative. So these questions cannot be our answer. So 34th, we know that this is our answer. What's happening here? Okay, sorry about that. So in paragraph B, so we know the location that is in paragraph B. What does the writer say most school children do when they visit archaeological sites? So the writer says what most school children do, not some, but most do when they visit any archaeological sites. A option, they meet with the expert at the site. They talk to people living near the site or living close by. They are given information about this site, so they are provided with the information, or they engage in simple activities. They do simple activities. So obviously we know our answer is in paragraph B, and this is our question. So your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So the answer to this question is, first let me mark the question answer, option D. Now, where it is written, yeah, here's something about school children invited to visit archaeological excavations or archaeological sites, basically. So, where it is written, so they are normally given these kind of things. Straightforward. So I have already told you, I guess, straightforward task just means simple task, simple activities. I hope this question is clear. And let's see why other options cannot be our answer. A. They meet with the experts. Yeah, they meet with the experts, they work with them, but it is not the only thing they do. Clear? Because they are normally doing these kind of things. They talk to people nearby, there is no mention of that, and they are given information about the site, there is no mention of that. Yeah, they have told they have rarely knowledge about the site's history, but are they given the information about that particular site when they visit there or not? We don't know about that, so we don't know, we know this is not our answer, so our answer is option D. Let's read 35th. The watermill is an example of something that the children, so we know in whichever paragraph watermill will be mentioned, that paragraph will contain our answer to question number 35. Before that, there is no use of reading this particular question right now. 37, 39. Is there any mention of children's exhibition? No, there is no mention of any children's exhibition. So there is no mention of, no need for reading any question. And we know the 40th is the title, so we will not visit that. C paragraph. The children's archaeological investigations were a part of a larger project initiated by by a community group which works to study and preserve the landscape of Binake Hills region in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. So now they're saying that children's investigation, it was a part of a larger project. So there was a larger project going on, and children's archaeological investigation was a small part of it. And this particular project, it was initiated means started by a community group, okay, which wants to work and which wants to study and preserve the landscape of this Binake Hills, that is a region in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. So this is a place, and this is the location of that particular, you can say, project. The main project was developed by a team from the University of Aberdeen and funded by a Community Heritage and Fund and National Lottery. So the main project, okay, it was developed from the team of University of Aberdeen. So the people from university developed that particular project, and the money came from, so the funds came from Community Heritage Fund and National Lottery. So these two organization or bodies, they provided money to the people from University of Aberdeen. Let me highlight them. Clear? It focused on the history and archaeology of an abandoned mid 19th century settlement. So, what was the focus of this particular project? History and archaeology of an abandoned 19th century settlement. So, settlement is where humans used to live here. In this particular case, abandoned, like they left it for one reason or the other. Located on the common ground on the lower slopes of Benake Hill. So, where it was located, this particular project was located on this particular site. Colin Shafford set up two additional archaeological projects. So this particular person, Colin Shafford, he started or set up two extra project. Additional means to say extra. One was this particular main project, and apart from that, two other projects were being started or set up by this person with local primary school children and their teachers. Each project investigated the history of the place in which the pupils live and go to school. So what they investigated, where pupils live and where they went to school. I hope it is clear. Now you have around 10 seconds and to find whether there is any answer to this particular any answer to these question in paragraph C or not, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's read the questions. So 28th we have done. 29th, the relevance of the children's achievement to country's educational requirement. Is there any mention of any educational requirements or children's achievement and they are linked? Something like that? No. So this cannot be our answer. 30th, the location of archaeologists' main project. Is there any mention of main project of archaeologist and the location where it is like being conducted or where it is taking place? Yes, this is our answer. Let me first mark here. See. So now let me do this. University. Okay, so now I will just mark the main words. So the main project, we know that's the main project, and where is the location? Located on this particular hills. So this is our location. So just let me mark this. Question 30th. I hope you understood this particular question. It was quite easy to find this. So let's, if somebody has marked 31, 32, let's see why they are not. Because there is no mention of finding a large amount of evidence, and there is no mention of any relative or any person's relation. So these two cannot be our answer. Okay, so is there any mention of watermill here? Again, there is no mention of that, so we don't need to worry about that. And there is no mention of children's exhibition either. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the next paragraph, that is D. At one of the schools, the excavation took place in woodland where pupils usually take part in outdoor learning. So now there a lot of schools would be like there, or maybe have been participating in any particular event, and out of those schools, one particular school, the excavation, it took place in woodland where pupils usually take part in outdoor learning. So where you pupils or students usually go to learn something. Before the archaeology project began, the children viewed the woodland as existing only in present. So before this particular project, they never cared about the history of that particular place. They just thought of that particular place at present, like there are trees or something like that, so they were happy with that. They never thought what what kind of people lived here 100 years ago or something like that. So they were only concerned with the present, not with the past or the future. Through their work, they became aware of its history and people who lived and worked on the land near their school in the past. So, because the excavations or the work they did, they became aware of the history and the people who lived and worked in the past, taking on the role of historians and working with primary source materials. So now what they did was they took the role of historians and they worked with the primary source material. So now they're working with the main sources of materials like maps, census returns, and tax payments. So these are the sources they worked with. Children were able to develop their own lines of inquiry. So because of that, they were able to develop or make their own questions. The research suggested that there had been a watermill. Okay, so there is mention of watermill here. Let me mark this. So their research, it came to conclusion that there must have been a watermill in this particular area. So their excavation set out to find it. So they started excavation just to find. So the purpose was clear for their excavations, to find the watermill. The children working with the community archaeologist found evidence for this. So the children who were working with this particular community archaeologist, I believe Colin Shepherd, found evidence for this, like maybe watermill. They also discovered the remains of the 19th or 20th century midden or rubbish dump containing many pieces of broken pottery. So what they did was they also find remains of 19th or 20th century. So they were not so sure about the century, but they found remains of in a rubbish dump, and it contained many pieces. You can say a lot of pieces of broken pottery. So pottery, things made with clay. I hope you know about that. So now you have some time to tell me if there is any answer here or not, and time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's read the questions and see if there is any answer here or not. 29th. Is there any mention of children's achievement to educational requirements? They have to do this because of their syllabus or something like that, and the relevance between these two things? No. So this can be our answer. 31. A place where large amount of archaeological material was found. Is there any mention of that? Yes. First, let me write the location, mark the answer, write the answer and mark the location. So yes, there is our answer. So where it is written a large amount of material was found, so it was a rubbish dump. So it was a dump meaning to say there will be a lot of rubbish there, and it contained many pieces, a lot of pieces of broken pottery, so archaeological material. Because uh, if you like, just give me one sec. Sorry about, okay. So yeah, if you remember in the first paragraph we read something about wood marmalade jar, so it was an archaeological find, so obviously broken pottery will also be archaeological find. I hope it is clear. Now let's 32, it can be our answer because there is no mention of any relative or any local business. Clear. So let's see 35. Yeah, watermill, we have read about watermill here. Here it is. Now we'll read the question and options, then I will give you around 10 seconds, tell me the answer. Okay. The watermill is an example of something that the children, so watermill, they are saying that it is an example of something obviously that the children had read about in history lessons, discovered using written documents. So they discovered it here, they are saying that they have read about it in lessons, they have discovered this using documents, heard from local people, or remembered from previous activities. Okay, so this is our location obviously. Now you have around 10 seconds, tell me the answer. So, and the time starts now. Time's up. And the answer to this question is option A, B, C, or D. Yes, B. Discovered using written documents. Where it is written? Here. So taking on the role of this by using this. So let me just mark this location, write the location here, then I will explain. So here they're saying that they discovered, how they discovered, they used maps, they used census returns, tax payments. So they are using these records or written documents to find out about a watermill. So let's see whether why other options are not our answer, because they didn't read this about history in their history lessons. So there is no mention of local people and other activity. So here it is clearly written that before this discovery or project, they used this place just for outdoor learning, and they only thought that it existed in present. Okay, so they just used it for outdoor learning, and they just thought of it, this particular place, as as present in present. Okay, let's read the 36th question. What does the writer say about one child's grandmother? So whenever we will read about one child's grandmother, something like that, we will then read the options. Before that, there is no like benefit of reading options. Okay, do you think there is any chance of children's exhibition? Is there any mention of children's exhibition in this particular paragraph? No. So we will not read these options just yet. Moving on, E paragraph. My role as a teacher educator specializing in history education was to work alongside pupils and staff to create an exhibition for families and the general public. Now, my role, the writer or whoever this particular person is saying, the first person, you can say, as a teacher educator, and that he or she is specialist in history education, was to work. So what was the main role? Was to work alongside pupils, students, and staff to create an exhibition for families and general public. So now there's something about an exhibition. Following a visit to the university to see the museum there. So following a visit, after a visit where they visited university, why? To see the museum. Children produced a timeline of everything they had found to show the period in history to which each item belonged. So after visiting a museum, children, they produced a timeline. So they like marked their objects according to the time period, so that they can show what particular object was present in what particular year or time period. They went on to invent a guess the object game to engage visitors in their discoveries. Then they invented a game called Guess the Object so that they can engage visitors in their discovery. So they, because they wanted visitors to be interested in their project or in their exhibition, so they invented that particular kind of game so that visitors, they can also, you can say, test their knowledge, I believe. If they are guessing the object, like, obviously you are testing your knowledge. The children were given the use of the museum's replica of a 17th century collector's cabinet for their exhibition. Now they have also been given the use of museum's replica of a collector's cabinet that belonged to 17th century for their exhibition. During identification of the pottery pieces, one was identified as coming from the distinctive Seaton workshop in Aberdeen, so a complete example was borrowed from the museum and included in the cabinet alongside it. So while they were identifying their pottery pieces, what kind of pottery pieces? Those pieces they have found in paragraph D. Okay. So while they were investigating them, where it was written, yeah. While they were identifying those pottery pieces, investigating those pottery pieces, one particular piece was identified that it came from this particular workshop in Aberdeen. So this is the place. So a complete example, so one particular, like a complete pot or whatever pottery was, that was borrowed from the museum and it was included in the cabinet alongside it. Because it used a high quality display cabinet, children's exhibition gained a similar status to that of a real museum for the parents and community members who came to see it. So, as a result of using high quality display cabinet, the status of the exhibition was similar to that of a real museum. So, it was not any like rundown of the real museum or something like that, cheap copy of the exhibition. It was the real deed, okay, real thing. Now, you have some time to tell me whether 29 or 30. Only these two questions are left, whether we have any answer here or not, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's read the questions. The relevance of children's achievement and educational. Is there any mention of children's achievement and it is relevant to educational requirement of particular country? Any name of a country? Nope, nothing like that. So 29th cannot be our answer. 32. Is there any mention of any relative and a local business? There is no mention of any relative or any relation here. So 32 can be our answer. So in E, we do not have any answer. So moving on. One child's grandmother. So I believe wherever there, so there is relative. So in whatever paragraph will be one child's grandmother, I believe we will have 32 question as well. But let's see. 37th, the children's exhibition. So there is something about exhibition. Let me change the color first. Yes, there is something about pupils exhibition. So let's read the questions. The writer helped the children to exhibit what they had found. Yes, it was the role of the writer to do this, to create exhibition. First, the children went to school at the first the children went to look at the exhibits on display at the Dash Museum. Okay, so the question is saying that first, meaning to say in the beginning or to start with, children went to look at the exhibits, the evidences or something on display at the Dash Museum. So the refers to obviously article and it always comes before a noun. So it should be some kind of noun before the Dash Museum. Let's see. My role as a teacher is specializing following a visit to the university museum. Okay, so following a visit to the university to see the museum. So here is about the museum and following a visit. So following a visit is first they went. Okay, so our answer is in this particular sentence. So this answer is a bit, you can say difficult maybe for some, but I will try to explain it, or try to break it down in as simple terms as possible. But first try to find the answer. You have allotted 10 seconds. The time starts now. Okay, time's up. And the answer is, let me first mark it, university. Don't worry if you were not able to find this particular answer. It was quite tricky one. I will try to explain to you in as simpler terms as possible. Now, so here they're saying first children went somewhere. So first children went to look at the exhibits at the museum. So in simple terms, first children went to the museum. So here, but they're saying following. So if, for example, if someone is following you, following a visit to the museum, basically following museum. So if someone is following you, who comes in the first place and who comes in the second place? Who is in first place? Yes, you. And who is in second place? That person who is following you. Let's just say, for example, your friend is following you. Who is in first place? You. And who is in second place? Your friend. So first university, following university. I hope it makes sense. So let's continue. After that, they placed their discoveries on a timeline to show the age of the objects. So we have read something about timeline. Yes, here it is. So they produced a timeline so that they can show which item belonged to which particular time period. So show the age of the objects. Then they created a, again there is an article, so it should be some kind of a noun, for visitors to test their knowledge. So they created something so that visitor can test their knowledge of the items. Okay, so let's see. So they went on to invent. So here, oh, sorry about that, let me do this. So here they're saying created, and for created they have used invent. So they went on to invent a guess a game object to engage visitors in the discovery. So they're trying to engage the visitors in the discoveries. So obviously our answer is in this particular sentence, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up, and the answer to this particular question is game. Don't worry if you were not able to find this particular answer, I'll explain. Just let me complete this ritual. Okay, so here they're saying created, and here they're saying invent. Now, if what they invented, and here they have written a, so a. So they have invented the game called Guess the Object. But if you write created a Guess the Object game, your answer will be marked as incorrect. Why? Because we have already read we have to write one word only. If you write more than one word, like two or three words, your answer, though it may contain correct word, will be marked as incorrect. Be very careful about that. Clear? So engaging the visitors. So why visitors will be engaged? Because they are what, to test their knowledge. Guess the object. So if I am saying, if can you guess this particular object, or can you guess who this person is? So what I am trying to do is I'm trying to test your knowledge. I hope it is clear. Let's move on to the next question, 39th, and see whether this is also in this paragraph or not. The children were allowed to use a cabinet that belonged to museum to display all the things they had found. So yes, we have read something about cabinet as well. Here it is, cabinet. One piece of pottery was recognized as being made at a particular blank. It was placed next to an unbroken example of pottery. So it was placed next to an unbroken example of pottery. So they're saying that one particular piece of pottery. So we have also read something like that. Yeah. One here. During the identification, one was identified. So one of the pieces was recognized as being made. Now let's understand the question first. That was recognized. So recognized meaning to say identified as being made at a particular. So if you're like reading this particular sentence, being made at a particular. So what kind of word do you think should be here? Yes, obviously it should be a noun because a is written, but it can be a particular place or particular time, being made at a particular place or a particular time. Maybe name of the place, maybe some kind of time period, but as far as I can remember, there is no time period given. But let's read it. During the identification of the pottery pieces, one was identified as coming from the distinctive Seaton workshop in Aberdeen. So a complete example was borrowed from the museum and included the cabinet alongside it. So was placed next to, alongside, and complete, unbroken. So that is the location of our next sentence. So obviously our answer will be in this particular sentence itself, and you will have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up. And the answer to this question is yes. What is the answer that you were able to find? Yes, workshop. Just let me highlight this. So why it is workshop? Because we know from this particular information that we have to find where it was made. So it was made in Seaton workshop in Aberdeen. We cannot write Seaton workshop because it will, like, there will be two words and our answer will be marked as incorrect. And if I only write Seaton, it will be like a city's name but not the exact location where it was made. But workshop, it signifies the exact place where this particular piece of pottery was made. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the F paragraph now. So all the questions 30 and 39 we have done. 36 that is left, and 29, 32. These questions are left. Now, paragraph F. The project meant the children could lead their own historical investigation and expand their understanding of the places in which they live and the heritage of their family and community. So, they're saying that this particular project, whatever the project they were like a part of, they could lead their own historical investigation and they can expand their understanding. So, they can broaden their horizon of the places in which they live and the heritage of their friend, family, and community. The key principle in the social studies section of Scotland's Curriculum for Excellence, the national framework for learning for children between the ages of 3 and 18. So, whatever this is a key principle in this section of this particular curriculum, and it is the nationwide framework or national framework for learning, and the ages of children are between 3 and 18. Not only did children learn the history of the place, they learned to understand the process of creating historical knowledge. So it reaped two benefits. Not only they learned the history, but they understood the process of creating historical knowledge. Through their museum visit, they learned how to select items for display and to think about how to talk to other people about history they had created. So the benefit of visiting museum was they learned what kind of items should be on display and how to talk to other people about the history they just created. So to pass on the information to other people, to visitors, clear something like that. I hope information is clear and you have around 10 seconds. The time starts now. Okay, time's up. Let's see the 29th question. The relevance of the children's achievement to a country's educational program. Is there any mention of children's achievement and linking it with country's educational requirements? Yes. So our answer to this is paragraph F, where it is. Let me do this from here to here. So here they are said, so children could lead this and understand this knowledge, and this is the key principle, and this is the national framework. So again, they have expanded. They learned what and what and what. I hope it is clear. So let's see 32. There is no mention of relative here. There is no mention of grandmother. We have done this. Okay, photo will be in the last. So as I suspected earlier, relative, and this will be in the last paragraph, that is G. So now we're going to read the G paragraph. We will be able to find two answers minimum. Maybe 40th will be also somewhere here. Setting up the exhibition and showing it to people aided conversation between children and their community. So now they're saying that when like setting up the exhibition and showing it to people, it helped conversation between children and community, so they were able to talk with their community people. One of the children discovered that their great grandfather had once owned the Seaton workshop. So, out of those children, so one discovered that his grandfather, his or her great grandfather, owned a shop in Seaton, or owned Seaton workshop where that particular piece was made. Sorry. The grandmother of another, so here's something about grandmother of another child, recounted her memories of making oatmeal porridge in a small in a small bowl decorated with the same floral design as a pottery piece on display. So the grandmother, she remembered that she used to make uh, let- she used to make oatmeal porridge in a small bowl that was decorated with the same floral design. So whatever floral design was on that particular piece, she used this ball that had the same floral design as pottery piece on display. The archaeological investigation carried out by the children created a real life context for them to play an active part in learning, educating not just themselves but their community too. So, what's the benefit? They were not educating themselves but their community also. So, first and foremost, we know 32 will be in G, but can you tell me the location? For this, I will give you around 10 seconds to tell me whether 32 is here or not. And for that, time starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's read the question. A relative's connection to a local business. Is there any mention of relative's connection to a local business? Yes. So first, let me mark it as G. Where it is written? Yes, here Seaton Workshop. So the grandfather owned Seaton Workshop, so that was the connection to the local business. Clear? So let's read 36th question now. What does the writer say about one child's grandmother? So we know here is about grandmother. She recognized the pattern on some pottery. So she recognized pattern on some pottery pieces. She showed the children how to decorate. She showed how to decorate pottery. She regularly cooked using a pot that was very old, regularly cooked something in an old pot. She offered the children an old pot that she kept. So she gave children an old pot that she had kept. So again, so obviously this is our location. You have around 10 seconds. Tell me the answer. The time starts now. Okay, time's up. And I'm gonna mark the answer. The answer to this question is A. She recognized the pattern on some pottery. So I hope you were able to find that particular answer. So where it is written, so her memory is making this decorated with the same floral design as pottery piece on display. So she remembered that she also used that a ball similar with similar design. Okay, so why other options if you have marked are not the answer? Because there is no mention that she showed children or she taught children how to decorate. There is no mention of any old pot she cooked in, or she didn't give children anything. So she recognized or recounted her memories making oatmeal in a small ball with same floral design. I hope it is clear. So now moving on to the last question of this particular video, what would be a suitable title for the article? So we have read everything about the article. So let's read the option. Children make an exciting archaeological discovery. So if the theme of the article is children making any exciting discovery, A will be our answer. Archaeology is becoming a new hobby. So if it is about new hobby for children, B will be our answer. The benefits for children of working with archaeologists, if it is about the benefits of for children of working with archaeologists, C will be our answer. D, communities appreciate the teaching of archaeologists. So community appreciating teaching of archaeologists, then D will be our answer. So to tell me this particular question's answer, you will have around 10 seconds as always, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up, and the answer to this question is A, B, or C, or D? Yes, C. The benefits for children of working with archaeologists. Why A cannot be our answer? Because yeah, there is mention of children making discoveries, but this passage doesn't just specify this, or just doesn't just focus on that. B, archaeology is becoming new. There is no mention of that this is becoming a new trend. Like a lot of children are now participating in this, and community is appreciating. There is no mention of that either. But the passage solely focus on the benefits for children, like they can learn new things, they discovered new things, now they are learning themselves and they are teaching their communities too. So that's the benefit for children, so they can take it as a career maybe when they grow up, something like that. So these are like the entire passage just focus on this. So the best suitable title for this should be option C, the benefits for children of working with archaeologists. So there are a lot of benefits given like that. I hope it is clear. We have done, yeah, we have done this, we have marked this also, these questions and these also. So I hope you understood how to solve this particular passage, and if you have any doubts you can rewatch that part of the video, or you can rewatch the entire video if you wish to do so. And if you want to take our help in writing and or speaking, like if you're struggling to get a band 7 in either writing and speaking or both, you can enroll in our video course that we have made specifically for students like you, in which we have described or taught you in detail what teachers are looking for if you want to get a band 7 in writing and or speaking. We have discussed all the four parameters. We have like discussed each task two, like agree disagree both views separately. Similarly for speaking, we have discussed part 1, part 2, part 3 separately. We have told you the tried and tested strategies that our students use, our numerous students have used to get a band 7 or more in their writing and or speaking. And if you want to become our next success story, I'm going to leave the link in my bio. You can go to our website from there and enroll in our video course. Or if you want to take our writing correction service, in which we will mark your essay according to the four parameters, then we'll give you a detailed description why, where you are lagging, what you have to do to improve your essay to a particular band score, and what are your current level, what is your current level, or what are your current band scores that you will get and why. And if you want to improve on that, what you have to do for both writing and speaking. And if you want to book one on one to one speaking slot, sorry about that. If you want to book one-to-one speaking slot, in which again we will assess your speaking on the all the four parameters, you can do that also from our website. And that's it for this video. Then I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.